How's it going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know it has been quite a while since my last video, but we're back onto it. We've got a fresh new year, 2024, and I've got quite a few things planned for the start of the year, so be sure to keep an eye out on the channel as there will be quite a few videos coming out in the near future. And as always, you know, if you've got any kind of ideas or anything that you would like me to cover in a video, drop it in a comment down below, and I'm going to read through it all and hopefully make a video on it. But in today's video, I'm going to be sharing some top tips that I've kind of figured out and found over the past few years of me just creating designs that I think work pretty well in sports design, but these can be applied to kind of any design work really. They're quite easy to change, quite versatile, but obviously in this case, I will be showing you how to use it on a sports design, in particular a football design. So let's get straight into it really. The first tip that I've got is green hue. So as an example here, I've got a picture of Bellingham, and this works. This is really common on kits, white kits on football cutouts. I see it all the time across social media where the kits have got a really green, ugly hue, and when there's further effects applied onto these cutouts, the green is only amplified and looks even worse. So it's very easy to fix. So what I do is you just want to convert your layer to a smart object, so then you can apply effects and you can take them off if you want to. And you go into filter, camera raw, and honestly it's really easy. You just go into color grading, no it's not, it's color mixer, into saturation, and then you go into greens and you just whack it all the way down. And then there you go. As you can see, all the green, if I turn this back on, the green is gone. Obviously if you have kits that are green, it's going to affect the actual color of the kit and things like that, so it's a bit more tricky, but it wouldn't show up as much obviously if it's a green kit. But what I also do, I don't usually just apply it to the whole thing. So when you've got the smart object down here, you can just press on the mask, then you want to press Control I or Command I to invert it, which hides it, and then you can just paint in the areas that you want it to cover. So let's literally just paint over the socks to get rid of the greens, paint over the shorts, and obviously just the kit in general, and that will create a nice not green effect all over this. And now you can edit the pictures however you want. The green's not going to show, and it looks like a very nice black and white, obviously, well, a bit of navy kit, so it's nice and clean. Number two, we've got, as I like to call it, deep frying. And again, I see this all the time on designs and it doesn't make them look great, put it that way. So the thing that I usually see, I've just got this picture of Cole Palmer, so a lot of the time people just literally go on camera raw, effects, and they get clarity and basically just do this. Same with texture, press OK, and then you end up with this absolutely deep fried effect on an image which just looks terrible, to be honest. So don't do that. What you can do with, let's say in this example, it's quite a dark picture, you've got some quite harsh shadows, it's dark background. So what I'd do, again, go into filter, camera raw, you go in, let's go into light and let's bring up some of the shadows just so it's not as dark. Bring that up slightly, maybe even a little bit of the exposure can go up just to make the image a little bit brighter, some of the highlights as well, and straight away that's looking a lot clearer. In the effect, what you can also do, whack up the clarity slightly. I'd probably keep it like 15 maybe. You can also go into detail and go into sharpening. So you can whack that up slightly, let's say like 50. Let's put it on there, and that just looks already so much cleaner than it did before. And it's been, let's say, air fried rather than deep fried. And it looks pretty good. The background is a little bit grainy, but I think that's just because the quality of the picture isn't the best. So we can probably, well, the background will get removed in most cases anyway. What you can also do, if you want to play around with this further, you can also do filter, sharpen, and you want to go into the smart sharpen. And if you look in the preview, let's just go into his face, that sharpens it even more. So if I hide that, put it back, as you can see, it sharpens it a lot more. And if you've got it as a smart object, you can edit this smart sharpen by just double clicking on this little toggle here. And you can change the opacity to, like, let's say, I don't know, like 20. I think that looks quite nice, and they've got a nice crisp image. What you can also do, if you don't want to use a smart sharpen, you can duplicate your layer. So by pressing Control J or Command J, you've got another layer. You can go into filter, other, and high pass, I'd probably keep it at around 10. It gets quite a lot of the details out. Press OK, so you've got another layer. And then you want to change the blending mode to overlay. So it's over the layer, and it has to be obviously above your original layer. And you can play around with the opacity, because obviously that's a bit too much. But I'd say if we use around like 30%, that just helps those little details pop a bit more. And yeah, it just makes it a lot more of a cleaner effect rather than just using clarity and texture. So now moving on to number 3, we've got cutouts. So I've just got a simple image again of Cole Palmer here. I just found this because it was quite easy to kind of mask, hopefully. I won't show you like a fully detailed step-by-step cutout process, but this does help it, and it makes it a lot easier. So this only works at the minute if you want to rasterize your layer. If you've got it as a smart object, you want to rasterize this, and then you want to select your Magic Wand tool, and you want to go up here into select subject, press this little drop down and press cloud, as you get a lot better results with this. Once that is selected, you want to press select subject, which should hopefully just select this. You can get rid of these because obviously they're not needed. And now you can just press either select a mask, which you can refine further, or you can just press this little mask button and it gets rid of it. So on the mask, because I'm obviously only want to look at Cole Palmer, I'm just going to go in with a black brush on the 2 cutouts on the side and just paint them out to get rid of them. There you go, boom. I mean, it's done quite a good job. Obviously, there's a few bits around the fingers that you kind of want to touch up by hand and with the hair, but if it's quite a clean cutout straight away, what you can straight away go and do, I usually just duplicate the layer just to have this as a backup. You want to go in, then you want to rasterize this, so you have to convert it to a smart object, and then you want to rasterize the layer. Now what you want to do is you go into layer, matting, and defringe. I usually do 2 to 3 pixels, but let's stick with 2. And once you do this, it removes all this black outline pretty much instantly. Again, if you touch up a bit more, you better get results. But that's pretty clean. And it just saves a lot of time when cutting out cutouts of players or anything really. So you can apply this to whatever you're working on. Moving on to number 4 is texture. So I've just put this together, a simple design with Bellingham from before. Just added a bit of color, a bit of a gradient into the background so you can apply some texture. But you can quite quickly add something more to the design rather than just being very clean. If I just group all this together and you can duplicate, you can go into some effects. So if you convert it to a smart object, so you've got all this grouped, what you can do is you want to go into camera raw filter again, and you can do effects and you can whack up the grain. So if you just look closely into here, if you whack up the grain to, I don't know, let's say 25, instantly that just kind of makes things blend more, and it's not as much of a flat surface, and it just doesn't look, I don't know, it's a bit more dynamic. It looks a lot better with the noise. It just kind of gives it something extra to that image. This can also be done, let's say, if you just get rid of that, if you want to create a layer whilst you're working on stuff rather than kind of compiling everything together and only adding it at the end, you can make a layer at the top, fill it with any color really. I just use white, and you want to go into filter, noise, and add noise. You want to make sure Gaussian is selected and monochromatic is selected as well. Whack it up to 400%, and then once you've got this kind of effect, you just want to go to the blending mode, select soft light, and then I usually drop it down to around 15%. And this again kind of has a similar effect to the grain effect on the camera raw filter, which works pretty well. It just adds, again, like I said, just a little bit something extra, so it's not as clean. I mean, sometimes the clean designs look really, really nice, but if you've got a very simple design, sometimes you want to add something extra to it. Texture is the way forward, and texture kind of links to my next point with the resources. So these are the kind of the top 5 websites that I use for resources. They're free, really easy to use, and obviously I want to point out the obvious Google's on there, but you can get really high quality pictures of football players on Google. It's really, really easy. And you just basically want to make sure that you're selecting from the tools, making sure that it's a large picture rather than a small one, so you get a good amount of pixels on the image. You're not working with low quality images, because that just ruins the design straight away. The first 4, Texture Labs, a great website, honestly, tons of free resources, tons of texture files. I've used some on the text here. You can just go in and kind of have a play around. It's amazing. I use it basically in every single design that I do. Unsplash is great. You've got some really high quality textures and just images in general that you can use for your backgrounds or for different aspects and elements of your designs. It's great. Again, free, amazing website to use. Fontesk, again, an amazing website to use for fonts. In your work, there's tons of fonts that are free for commercial use on there as well. Just make sure you do check that tick box if you are working on a paid project, because you don't want to be getting into copyright issues, because that's just a whole other story. And then finally, out of the top 4, you've got Brush Easy. It's got tons of brushes that you use. Like, I use it all the time, and I've got one of my favorite brushes here. You've got the powder brush that I use all the time. So if I just show you this quickly, this can be found on there, and there's quite a few different variations, and this creates just a very cool powdered effect. And if this is layered over the top of like images or used as like fog or in the background, it just creates a very nice bit of texture as well. That kind of links into the previous point. But yeah, so I do recommend those websites very, very highly, so make sure to check those out. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for the top 5 tips in this video. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope they help you out in your work slightly. You may already know all of these, but if you're only starting out and you're a beginner, then they might help you out in the short term. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like on the video and drop a comment down below to kind of suggest anything else that you want me to cover. I've got a couple of videos planned already, so again, like I said, make sure to keep an eye out. And if you want to kind of get in touch with me or just keep an eye out on my socials, I'll drop my links to Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and my Instagram down below, so make sure to drop me a follow. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next video.